The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually.
There's a battleship parked in the river, reenacting open doors in open fire. There are mushroom clouds and machine gun copters descending. Snap, crackle, pop, fizzle of the fireworks as they pass into just met, you haven't kissed me yet. I know somebody else told me better. And I made a wax so easy to impress. Melting too fast, dripping into your lips because all my heroes have turned human as you, slinking round pool tables, sinking into unfabled stupors, and the whispering into the night air, to some girl's hair. I am number one. Independence Day of freedom is one. To choose our way when we go what's to come. But with each time we break, sacrifice. How many lives will it take? How many lives left us die? fireworks that light up the sky and then fall into the water. My love's next to me, head full of the next century, wondering if there will be a wedding tomorrow. And the secret smoke signals aftermath of gunpowder seem the most significant indication of what's to come. Independence Day, how free is one to choose our way, undergo what's to come. With each time we break, there is sacrifice. How many lives will it take? How many loves must just
This is the mystery font. This is the mystery font. Mystery font. This is the mystery font. You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone. It is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood?
Sets the fear of separation. Six, the fear of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic.
He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. Yes. There we are. There we are. The mystery of is the mystery. Mystery. Ha. Font. Mystery font. Mystery font. Mystery Why, yes. Why, yes. This might be. This might be a piece of the puzzle. This, of course, is a piece of the language. This, of course, is a piece of language. This, of course, is a piece of language. Mystery I've toppled a piece of language. The tone, I've heard it said, and I remember that it was said that hearing a whistling tone might be a sign of the ability to hear it leaving. And I wonder how many people are aware of a particular definition of the word reason, because we are lacking executive function. And that being the case, we are going through collective trauma. We are experiencing massive collective betrayal trauma. This is betrayal trauma, because even those of us who knew that Donald Trump was a criminal and a cheat and a liar, whether or not we personally liked him, those of us who could sense that and saw that coming and listened and watched, and his actions and words betrayed him as false. We've watched a breakdown of the assumption that fact exists and the expectation that there will be good faith communication. And and that he is positioned as an enemy of the United States is enough reason to disqualify him from running. He positions himself as an enemy of the United States and as one above, with absolute authority, which means above the United States, because what else would permit someone to withhold to this day? Because if he's right twice a day, if he did have one scrap of evidence that proved some consequential fraud in 2020 against him that changed the outcome of the election, and he has chosen to not produce that, that is a criminal act. For him to have that material and hold it is part of the bellows of how he got January 6th to happen. Saying that he had proof and then magically not quite pressing send on the email for 2 months and now 2 years, 3 years, just about. It's truly massive, the area of mental fabric and social fabric that we don't know has been devastated and torn. But like, we're not feeling pain to areas of our body because it's that decimated. It's just gone. And maybe some of that is about executive function. Maybe some of that is just people abandoning things in havoc, in times of incredible terror, But reason, within this frame of this age of permuting falsehood, if someone stepped out onto the street with a microphone and said, "Excuse me, what's reason? What's a reason? What does reason mean? What is reason? What is a reason? Tell me, what does reason mean?" What would you say? What would come to your mind as, this is what we mean by reason? What is reason? Because I think a lot of people might say, as is prominent in the culture, there is a justification, an evidence, a piece of data that says, oh, aha, see, yes, you were born before 2 p.m. on that day. You were born at 1:57, aha. And you said you were born in the evening, and your story was predicated upon that. That's the reason you didn't want to tell us. You had the birth certificate with the time. That's the reason. That a reason is a justification or a piece of evidence or a piece of data that prompts a decision, that justifies or prompts a decision, and that catalytic data point. I think that's kind of the area around which we'd be talking. Most people would mention that's the idea that would be first and foremost, I think. And I think a lot of people, I fear, a lot of people don't know about a word, reason, in terms of a noun that I believe, it's about a capacity for being a reasoning mind, a mind that is advisable, that is able to make itself up as and also to change and to grow and evolve and see the best idea in the mind and remind or, evolve and grow, but advisable, like someone with reason realizes when someone offends them and the stress and lack of repair and anger and whatever is threatening the relationship, someone says, "Hey, friend, I'm gonna figure out how to make this up to you, but can we start the building process as much as like the repair? Can we start somewhere?" We have to have the fiber of the thing that looks for the best answer in the room, for the best idea, that the room where it happens, that the imagination of democracy. We need, and a president should be someone presiding over, but not ruling per se, not saying, I choose, this is in terms of how much do you get in the way of a team that you have brought together. And like micromanaging that's not micromanaging, but simply preempting. People miscast to be window dressing. The point is, reason as a capacity, the capacity for reason is essentially executive function. To be able to think and be able to de-escalate one's mind and one's fears, to be able to see, to be able to tell, like, for oneself, I'm getting worked up. I don't want to jeopardize this friendship. Oh, I'm angry. I need to figure out a way to express this well. This is an important anger to me. I feel really, I need to this isn't a small thing. I have to do this right. I don't know. Essentially, reason is in part about honor, hopefully, but it's at least about, if a person has honor, it's about honor. It certainly is about being sensitive to what's there and advisable with new information or new analysis or letting their own gestation win the day. And if we don't have executive function, if we allow Marjorie Taylor Greene to scare the living executive function out of us, then we're sitting ducks. She will point at somebody who's different from me and make me think I need to hurt somebody. I know that that's all false. I will not fall for that. But doesn't everybody say that? Or, we've all been lied to, and we've all been betrayed. Even those of us who saw coming, who have known not to trust Trump, we're all betrayed because a president, even a really corrupt president, has typically enough human defense particles like empathy and conscience, political conscience. But without those things, without, a dark triad predator like Donald Trump, it's havoc. And we have to stop saying and look at our pattern of saying, oh, he didn't mean that. Oh, they're not going to do that. They don't mean that. If they didn't mean that about putting asbestos back and stuff, it wouldn't be back. If they didn't mean that about terrible separations of families and children's lives ruined, it wouldn't be happening still today. We still haven't really solved that. Like, there's so much malice and truly abominable behavior that we are numb to because it has been a barrage that we're not taking school shootings as a terrorist threat from the NRA and MAGA, or certainly from the NRA and from corporations. We are being punished and hazed and terrorized to accept being punished and hazed and terrorized. I never had to worry about a gun coming into my elementary school. There was like one instance where an adult got into the building who wasn't supposed to be there and touched a kid in the bathroom, and it was stopped pretty quickly, and bad things happen sometimes. But Jefferson Elementary School, where I went to elementary school, which is now under a new name. I'm not sure what the name is, but I know that it's been renamed. But we had a couple of nuclear preparedness drills that were pretty basic and not super scary, but just were a thing that we did in the gym at some point and talked over a couple of things. It wasn't a huge deal, but it was a little scary. Nothing like adults saying, oh yeah, we're getting rid of the library, it's a detention center now. Oh yeah, and well, we know here's the shooting drill, like not, and maybe we're gonna arm teachers. Like, we are creating, we have brought war zone to America, and normalizing that police state, we have stolen our children's childhood. We have done that. We are doing it now. We are prioritizing machines that we have not really improved except for at doing some really terrible shit in a really particular bad way, more that way. We've had a long time to develop technologies that would be defensive and could be like so much more room and safety. Like, not guns essentially break posse comitatus. Certainly in the state that they are now. But my grandfather was a member of the NRA, and he would vomit to see what it is now. Like, in terms of a lack of stewardship and truly a spreading of armed terror and intimidation. The two tactics of terrorism are violence and intimidation. And you don't really need that much violence if you're willing to do convincing of it, intimidation forevermore and back that up. It's really an abominable thing, because we essentially we have, because it is a war zone that we are normalizing, our children are already living in prison. 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 Whoa! Whoa! Our children are already living in prison. 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 We've already screwed that up. We have to rescue them from that. We've already screwed that up. We have to rescue them from that now. We've already screwed that up. Our children are living in prison. We've already screwed that up. Whoa! She always makes an entrance. Marjorie. Well, let's see here. Our children are already living in prison. 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 Our children are already in prison. Our children are already living in prison. Our children are already living in prison. Our children are already living in prison. Whoa! Our children are already living in prison.
children are already living in prison. Our 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 children are already living in prison. We have to save them from that now. We have to rescue from that trauma children that we have institutionalized as prisoners, as detainees. We have broken covenant with our children by militarizing their lives. This is rupture of human contract. We are decimating our children's lives. Who is the falsehood? Who is the falsehood? The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The shadow knows the falsehood. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
So this iceberg definitely seems to be coming. I think we have an iceberg coming this way. I think that's pretty real, pretty yes, that is happening and stuff. I think that's where we are. Do we have a sense that we know what we're doing here? Do we think that we maybe know what we're doing? Is that the issue? Do we think that we understand what we're doing? I mean, that could totally be a part of an explanation. No problem, for sure on that. That could be part of an explanation as far as I can see. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? Virgil's knows. Virgil's knows. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The iceberg that is coming, that we can do something about. Just may have a sentient mind. Who is, before the last bit of that sentient mind evaporates? Who is the falsehood?